Hey guys, it's Sad and welcome back to the BulbaSquad. Sorry I haven't been able to make videos recently and my current tired demeanor. I had to get up really early to be able to pump this one out. So today we're going to continue on my progression series. Today we're going to do we're going to do high risk. So high risk, I actually have to clarify this point. There is a very fine line between high risk and stupid risk. All right? Essentially, high risk is you're doing an item that could potentially give you a really good return, but there's pretty high risk. Stupid risk is, yeah, you can get the high return, but you're putting on a lot more risk than someone else. I'll elaborate on that later, but first I want to talk about some items. So first we got modern singles. Modern singles are very high risk in my opinion, simply because if it's in rotation, you can keep getting a lot more out there because Pokemon has shown they're willing to reprint just about anything. Anything like Elite Trainer boxes are now on the table again, all of that. So, not to mention the print runs in Modern are always the biggest. Like right now, the print runs we're getting right now are bigger than anything else because of Pokemon's popularity. So over time, there's the opportunity for a lot more PSA 10s because with every set that comes out, the print quality gets better. So for that reason, it's easier to get 10s, and it's a lot more easy for there to be like a massive influx of like thousands of 10s in the future. So that's why I say it's high risk. Also, because a lot of people like to put in their money into modern because they can't afford vintage. So the market is very easily skewed because modern is specifically where all the Timmies go to because they think, oh, it's a $50 card. It could one day go to like $300, $500, just like vintage. It's like, no, that's just because it's cheap and it's a chase card doesn't exactly mean it's going to go up in value. You still have to try and watch the card, try and understand what exactly is it that could potentially bring it value in the future. Whenever we're talking about singles, we want to look at, is it a fan favorite Pokemon? One of the interesting ones would be Greninja, because Greninja was voted the number one most popular Pokemon, but it doesn't really have a really expensive form. So that would be an interesting one. That one would actually be something I would almost advise, maybe try to speculate on, because if it's number one favorite, that's something that could eventually try to make it, that high risk could eventually pay off. Charizards, obviously, starters, anything like that. When you're looking at singles, for modern, you always have to look for essentially popularity, a very nice mixture of rarity, because obviously you don't want a card that can be pulled in like, let's say, even 100 packs. That's too common. Something like the Burning Shadows Charizard GX would be perfect because I think it's like 1 in 600 plus packs, which is insane. That kind of rarity offsets the fact that there's so much product out there. Next, Unnumbered Promos. So Unnumbered Promos, for those of you that don't know, are promotional cards that just don't have numbers on them. They come out for various events. Some Unnumbered Promos would be like the Pokemon Snap cards, various trophy cards, various little things like that. And there's also numbered promos, a couple of them, like I know the Masaki ones are good, the vending promos. So the reason I say these are a little more risky is, sorry. So the reason I say these are more risky is simply because, though, whenever people come into the game, they don't go for the automatic niche stuff that you've never heard of or even seen. Because a very vast majority of people will have never interacted with a Masaki promo. And even fewer people will have ever interacted with a Pokemon Snap promo. So, what you're relying on is there's going to be enough people who join the game, stay in it, and then eventually go into vintage, into those unnumbered promos because they're more rare. However, because they have more rarity, they are higher risk, but they're at much lower risk of a massive influx of product because there's just so little of it out there. And it's easier for it to move because to begin with, the smaller the amount of cards, the less people you need to make a big price movement. I mean, just look at stuff like the Pokemon Illustrator, the perfect example. Now, vintage commons and uncommons. I wanted to address these because I noticed that there's a lot of people out there who are trying to hoard all that bulk because, simply put, you look at base set, and base set every single card has value. And that's a very special thing. But you can't do that for Team Rocket or for Foss or for all these other cards or sets because they just don't have that special identity. However, there is some value that can be found in commons and uncommons. Specifically, if you can find first appearance Pokemon, I think that would be a good route to try and collect to invest. First appearance would be essentially just the first time a Pokemon appeared on a card. So the original 151 are all first appearance, and then from there onwards, they're very scattered, far and few in between. Just because, and so I think that's a pretty good one, because let's say I want to collect an Eevee. Just want to collect Eevee, and I decide I'm going to collect the first card that came out. Kind of like I want to collect the first Magic card of Gyarados, which I have. Well, no, I collect the evolutions. I still got to buy the base set, first edition. Just expensive. So, of course, eventually you're going to have to go back to those sets. So, I think it's a good idea. However, again, make sure it's a popular Pokemon people will actually want to collect. Obviously, we don't want the first appearance of Jinx, something like that. Something that nobody wants, alright? Now, the other thing I wanted to expand a little bit more on the commons and uncommons. The thing is, specifically the first gen I want to talk about to be a little careful for that bulk, because when it comes to the first gen, everything from those first sets was printed extremely heavily, so those bulk cards are going to be very plentiful, alright? Afterwards, like, just do some research. Like, the Neo series had a smaller print run than the base set and all that stuff. Essentially, see print runs, try to figure out where the lowest ones are, so that way, if you're gonna try and go the bulk route for some stuff, you're not at least buying the stuff that was printed into the ground like base set unlimited. Like, we already saw how some of those cards try to rise up, and then there's just so much base set unlimited. It's one of the most printed sets ever, and it just dropped after a while because of hype. But even then, base set unlimited is special. Now, I need to expand on this idea. High risk versus stupid risk. And I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a person who buys a $1,000 card, and we have a person who buys $110 cards. I know you can. It feels like it's easier for that $10 card to double and go to $20 and that $1,000 than it is for that $1,000 card to double and go to $2,000. However, they're pretty much the same. Just they can both double about as easily. The reason I say that is because the $1,000 card has already been proven. People clearly want it. That's why it's that price. And if people want it, the word goes around and it could eventually double because population increases. That $10 card, we don't know why it's $10. Is it because it was printed into the ground? Is it because there's a lack of interest? Is it because nobody knows about it? Is it because just nobody cares? So there's a lot of unknown variables with this $10 card. However, the other thing I could see people talking about is, but it's easier to lose money on the $1,000 card than it is to lose on the $10 card because it's already there. No. It's actually, in my opinion, much more risky to have those $110 cards over this $1,000 card. The reason for that is, let's say the $1,000 card drops by $100, $900. Over here, they drop by $1. But that's a lot less likely. If you're talking about a $10 card, it's a lot easier for that $10 card to go to bulk than it is for that $1,000 card to drop by like 70%. It's easier to when you're already starting low, it's easier to shift even lower. Not to mention, big thing, when you're talking about cards like that, Remember, right out the gate, you have 75-cent shipping. Just a stamp in a white envelope. It adds up pretty quick. And even then, the eBay fee, the 10%, can add up as well. And if you're going to use your penny sleeves and top loaders, that continues to add up. So the risk between those two is just, that's what stupid risk is to me. Whenever, yes, you can technically both increase your money the same amount or get like outstanding returns because you find the magical unicorn out there that just so happens to make you a fortune, because that stuff's just been happening recently. But whenever you're dealing with such essentially penny stocks, gambling, you can lose your money a lot more easily. So essentially, you need to sit down and do a risk benefit or risk reward analysis. Sit down. What are the odds that this card is going to lose me a very large amount of money? All right, and what are the odds I get a good return on it? So first we look at, is it established? If it's established, all right, we have some foundation. Because if it's established, it means it's supported by many people. All right, does no one know about the card? Does no one care about it? Why is it? Oh, the pop report is really low. Now we got to look at the pop report and figure out, so is that because nobody cares about it, or because it's hard to grade, or why is that? See, so we have to sit through various variables. If you guys want a more in-depth dive into that, just tell me down below in the comments and I'll see if I can do a really deep dive with you guys on that. But other than that, I feel like you guys can pretty well understand how to do a risk-reward analysis. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry again for my current state, and I'll see you guys next time.